I'm going to call to order the work session for the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners on September the 6th, 2011. Before we get started with our regular agenda, I would like to call everyone's attention to Mr. Tim Tereska. Mr. Tereska, if you'll please stand up. He is our new, actually, come on up so that way you can get on camera and everybody can get a good view of you. That's right. Tim is our new Veteran Service Officer, and he is an Air Force veteran. He is contracts with the CIA, and he's also a Harrisburg resident. So thank you for coming to Cabarrus County and serving as our Veteran Service Officer.
My honor, thank you for having me.
And you've been here for about 60 days, 3 months.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, yeah.
Covert operations the other time. So welcome, Tim, welcome, and I appreciate it, and if we can do anything for you, then please let us know.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, we have before us the agenda, and if everybody would like to take a chance to look at it, and if y'all are comfortable with the agenda as is, and also if we'd have a motion to approve the agenda as is with moving the consent agenda to our September the 19th consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda and accept the consent agenda items.
We have a motion to accept the agenda as it is today and move the consent agenda to the September 19th meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. The first thing we have is old business, is the update, but that's going to be on our regular session. Is that correct? Or is there an update to be today? Mr. Crabtree just came in, I know.
Yes, Mr. Crabtree is presenting today.
Okay, Mr. Crabtree, if you don't mind coming up and starting us off
There you go. That's what he wanted to do.
before you get your seat warm.
He doesn't mind being the first one.
That's on page 7 of our agenda.
Okay, I just want to give everybody a quick update on where we're at on the qualified school construction bonds. Not a lot has changed since my last update. We do have a contract with our mechanical, electrical engineer, and a contract with our roofing engineer. The totals of those two contracts meet our requirement for the 10% obligation, so we feel good about that. I met with the civil engineer last week and hoping to get his or their proposal in maybe the end of this week, beginning of next. We are currently working with the mechanical to design some of those projects and hope to have some of those bid probably even before October, so they would count towards our 10% threshold there also. I think last time I stated that a lot of the HVAC and roofing projects, the big project at the intermediate schools want to be split across 2 summers just because of the scope. But we are actively designing that and hope to actually bid that pretty soon also, too.
Great. Any questions for Mr. Crabtree? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Now to new business, which is G1, is the Economic Development Grant Pre-Gel American Expansion. That's going to be a presentation at our September the 19th meeting. So if we have a motion to place this under new business for September the 19th. We have a motion, we have a second? We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Is that also including the public hearing, or is that already been?
There is, we already had a public hearing years ago, and this is just an update for them actually moving forward, if I remember correctly. Is that correct, Mr. Cox? We've already had a public hearing, and that's already been approved. It's just an update as to the status of the project, because they had it delayed for a while.
That's correct. John may be able to bring clarity to that.
Okay. Mr. Cook, can you bring some clarity to this?
I hope so. We're just actually reworking this whole previous economic development agreement. So I don't think there needs to be at this point anyway, there needs to be a public hearing on it.
Because a couple of years ago, I know that there was a public hearing on the initial development of the property, and then shortly after development, they wanted to do an expansion, and that was already heard, and this is that expansion. They're actually going forward. It's more of an update as to they are going forward, and because of a lot of good things going on with pre-gel. So that's the reason why it was put on for us to hear on September the 19th is they are moving forward, but with some different modifications, I believe, coming back to you, Mr. Cook.
That's my understanding. It's the same basic deal. It's just been reworked in terms of internally how they're going to allocate it and over what period of time, and some of the amounts have changed slightly, but that's my understanding of it.
Will this require a vote?
Yes, it will require a vote. It just won't require a public hearing.
Okay, so it is a vote of the modification to the original grant.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. I believe we voted to place this under new business, but we do not need to have a public hearing. Okay, G2, which is the presentation of the marketing plan for the CVB. I will call on Mrs. Carpenter and Mr. Banofsky.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
We will be short and brief, but as promised, I believe you all have a copy of this. We have hard copies. We know you've gone green, but in case any of you need to share this with, I know, Ms. Poole, you might want to share this with your students in some fashion or form. You're welcome to take one, so we'll have them here afterwards. Quickly, just wanted to give you a brief update and let you know that tourism is doing well. We're very fortunate in our community and in this destination to be able to say that our numbers are on the rise. Demand was up. We ended up 2010 with an increase in demand of 20% over last year, and actually had a record occupancy tax revenue collection of $391,000 in hotel stays for the month of April in 2011, which is very exciting in this economy. So good news to be told. In the front of the guide, you'll notice is my message, and it has some particular information in it. Feel free to read this at your leisure. I'm not going to sit and read it to you. And then there's a year-end report from John Mills, our executive VP, that talks about occupancy and lots of numbers for you all to sit and ponder over. And if you have questions after reading this, don't hesitate to give us a call, and we'll be glad to answer any questions you have. And also you'll find in here, as you go through it, the role of the CVB. The next slide, the next page is actually the power of visitors. This is a great slide for helping to educate and helping others understand how tourism benefits the community and how visitors actually benefit the community and touch all aspects of what we do here. So just a little tidbit there, and then there's some more statistics in here. And I'm going to turn it over to Michael to talk about our marketing efforts briefly this coming year.
Thank you. From a leisure standpoint, we're looking at, this is a very strong and aggressive plan. We're looking at roughly 20 million impressions through our different advertising, marketing, promotional, social media campaigns. You'll notice on page 7, which will be the next slide, talks about the different publications that we will target market into. Continuing on with our primary focus being on our destination guide. We've had success this past year with putting these destination guides in hotel rooms, and we've been significantly increasing the distribution on that. So we're looking to partner with a few more hotels, make sure that we get those destination guides in the hands of our visitors, resulting in overnights and further attractions. And ultimately, when you go back to the plan, you see the flow of cash and how it affects the county. Continuing on, one of our main focuses this year is going to be our website. We're looking to revamp our website for 2011-2012. We've partnered with an agency out of Kansas City who specializes in multimedia, marketing, visuals, and they're a company called MMG Worldwide. And as I mentioned, it's strong and aggressive because we're looking at increasing our touch points and our impressions significantly, and that is all detailed in the website outline.
What does that mean?
In terms of, I'm sorry?
When you say that you want to increase the website presence and you want to increase the visibility and you want to increase the viewership, what is that? How does that correlate? Why does that matter to us?
It's going to generate an overnight stays. People are going to know about our story.
How do you know that?
When we look at our advertising programs put into play, everything is tracking. We measure everything based on an ROI. So if I put an ad in a publication, I can track that and know that they come back to the website, okay? And then recognize when I automatically see our website traffic increase, I know that ad is doing what it needs to do.
Okay. And when groups come and say they want to use your help or use the CVB's help in regards to a conference, how do you know that the CVB is getting the benefit of that relationship? How can you track that people actually are staying in our hotels as opposed to Mecklenburg County or another county?
We actually do pickup reports, and what we do after a conference is here that we've assisted with, we actually call each of those hotel properties and find out how many room nights they generated, and there's typically a code when they book their hotel room in a room block so that we can track those. And then there's an actual dollar amount through a study that we've done that tells you how much per person the visitor actually spends, and then you can multiply that out and get the economic impact for the entire community from those.
How do you get people that come to the hotels to check out other places than the Speedway, the Dragway, the mall? How do you get them to go to read Goldmine or to encourage them to see other things?
Our destination guide is actually our call to action, and every one of those attendees will receive a destination guide. In addition, if the conference will allow us to do so, we set up a booth or a table at that conference and answer questions for the conference attendees, and we'll actually book reservations to restaurants and attractions if they would like to go. So.
Can you talk, maybe a little bit off point, but can you talk a little bit about the kiosks that y'all have set up at Concord Mills Mall as well
Sure.
as the Speedway?
Sure, be happy to. And we're also working with Concord Airport in restructuring their visitor information area to make it more current and appealing to people who are flying into the regional airport. And we also have satellite offices at the Speedway during peak traffic times, and also at Concord Mills, where we can actually answer questions and hand out destination guides. And again, we will book reservations or whatever it is the customer needs.
Thank you.
Has there been a report done from the previous county commissioners conference about the hotel rooms booked?
There has.
There
There
has.
has, yes.
Okay.
And it generated a little over, Kay, I think I sent that to you today. Was it $263,000 worth of economic impact, I believe is what that was.
Any other questions? Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Just real quick about the website, one of the things that we're going to pay specific attention to is the search engine optimization. Without being too technical, that means when a website is built, we put in words, search terms, commonly searched terms, and when people type in racing, motorsports, gold mining, shopping, we want to be bumped up to the list, and our site will be strategically built around that, so we're going to jump to the top. Continuing on with destination sales with Tracy Aldridge's group, the specific markets that we're featuring are the meeting and convention planners, the Smurf market, which is the social, military, educational, religious, and fraternal, as well as third-party planners, sports event rights, and tour operators. And that is on page 13.
I think we already had taken advantage of this, but I know that from speaking with a former chaplain friend of mine that just retired at Fort Bragg, I guess they have some program the chaplains are running there to get military members and their spouses away for, all expense paid weekend as a retreat. And I think they've done some of those here.
They do, and they have a very good working relationship with the Great Wolf Lodge.
Okay.
And they host a lot of those events, off-site events there. So-
And it's kind of when
Yes,
they come
sir.
back from being deployed, we reconnect and.
Yes, it's actually required, and the families come in and do that.
They have, yeah,
Yes.
that's what.
Jumping to page 17, we talk about visitor services and a little bit about the impact of our new move down to exit 49. Obviously making us more visible and accessible to the visitor, and looking to increase our impact and visitor spending. Then on page 19 and 20, you'll actually see the trade shows that we attend with the marketing support behind that. It could be collateral, giveaways, advertising, in addition to the key marketing dates which follow on page 20 for the specific programs that we have in play.
We also have a mobile marketing unit, which consists of the race car, hauler, and 15-passenger van. And we will be utilizing that at about 62 events this year, within the community and outside of the community to do FAM tours, to do, and a FAM tour is a familiarization tour where we invite meeting planners, travel writers, any type of client that would be interested in coming here. And we invite them to come in and spend a couple days with us and take them around to let them see the entire destination. So we'll be utilizing that. And that list is not in here. If you would like a copy of that, we'd be more than happy to supply that list of events to you. And if you would like, if you have an event, and I know each of you are members of some type of civic group, either within your church or your business life, and we would say to you to bring it on home and help us to bring those meetings and events here to Cabarrus County, and we'll be glad to help you do that. So. Also, you should all each receive by email a copy of our tachometer report. If you do not receive this, let us know, and we'll make sure that you are on the mailing list. This is an update to help you all keep track of our occupancy and how we're doing each month so that you can keep up to pace with us. And again, don't ever hesitate to give us a call. We are as transparent as we can be, and would be happy to share any of our numbers with you.
Any questions?
Ms. Carpenter, you mentioned that April was one of the largest amounts of hotel occupancy tax received. Was there something attributed to that?
There was just a lot of leisure traffic during the month of April. Great Wolf Lodge is a huge contributor to that during the summer months, and as well as the Embassy Suites with the Convention Center. It was a lot going on, and it was nothing one thing in particular, right, but it was just a great month for us.
Any other questions? Thank you all very much.
Thank you, and I'll leave a couple of these for you.
Next that we have is the Commerce additional ARA Fund for Weatherization. Mrs. Sifford.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
What we are looking for today, we have an opportunity to pursue some more ARA funds. We are only the second agency in the state that is eligible to receive those. We would like to ask for about $75,000 more dollars. We think that can pretty much clean up our waiting list that we have currently and get us set back for when we go back to regular weatherization. We're a little bit worried about having a big long list and people falling off of it or waiting for years for service, that kind of thing. So we wanted to come to you and ask your blessing to go forward and pursue that additional $75,000.
Any questions for Mrs. Sifford?
Yeah, I have a question. Regarding this program, what are the eligibility requirements? Who is eligible for this program?
It's a low-income program. It's 200% of poverty or less, and it's done by family size, so there's a scale, obviously, that goes with it. For instance, a family or an individual would be about $22,780 in max income.
That's for a family of four?
For one.
Oh, for an
just
individual,
one person.
22.
I think off the top of my head, I want to say it's around $33,000 for like a family of four. But with that program, again, that's energy efficiency. So we go in and do everything we can under the program to make the home more efficient, to lower their energy cost, which hopefully lowers cost in other areas.
I know we've always used private contractors to do the work? And I know recently, because of the slowdown in building, we use some of our building inspectors to do this. Is that going to be the case here, or are we going to go back out to the private?
We'll still we're down to one contractor that we're using now to carry out the work, and we would continue to use them for the stimulus. For our regular funds, we have only set it up for our staff to do it. In the future, depending on funding, that is an option. We could continue to use contractors. However, in the past, the funding has not been there. It's just been enough really to support our own staff.
Okay. Because that's the one thing I think that been, nationwide discussion about it. I think the more we can get this money, if it's our money, to private contractors to do the work, I think the better off we'll be. So,
one problem we have incurred with this is the health and safety funds. They limit it to 15% of the budget. And for all of the things that they are requiring us to do now on 15% of the budget, you really can't do it with contractors. We're able to do that cheaper, and that part has been a problem. And
so the health and safety has to be 15% of the budget.
The total budget. So out of that 75,000, 15% would be allocated to health and safety. They're trying to get it raised to 17%, which would help. But these new regulations just came into place July 1st, and they're requiring a lot of ventilation. And every time you do the ventilation, you have to vent it if it's not currently vented, and we're running into a tremendous amount of that. And so we're looking at 4 to 6 hours venting, usually 2 vents.
Okay.
How does one inquire for this program? Is it through the Department of Services, or how?
Through the Commerce Department, my office. Linda Cruz is my assistant. She does the intake for the program, and we get referrals from DSS, Aging, City of Concord, City of Kannapolis. We have quite an extensive network for people giving us referrals, and we've done very well with social services. As a matter of fact, I met with them at the first of ARA, and boy, they put them all out there, and we had a lot of people. We served a lot of people through them.
So you have the authority to check their means and?
Yes, they sign releases for us to check their income, and this program is available to rental units as well, as long as the client is eligible. The landlord is required to pay a little bit, so it's a really good deal for the landlord too. But yeah, we're allowed to check all that. The landlord's required to sign to allow us and pay the money up front and things like that.
How much is the county currently putting into this program?
There's no dollar amount put into it. There's probably some staff time that's not covered under the grant, but it's hard to estimate that. It's not something we have kept up with. It's something we can keep up with in the future if we need to, but right now there's no dollar amount. It's not a match program.
Is it all federal funds?
Yes, sir.
And the
in fact,
regulations is from federal government, right?
That's correct. The state adds some regulations to it. The way that program is set up, it has to be done by state direction because of the climate issues. So like, even though it's a federal program, what they do in Hawaii is totally different than what we do here based on the climate. So the state and the federal government together set the guidelines for the program.
It don't make a lot of sense to me when they're borrowing 42 cents every dollar they're spending. It just
I understand, and that is why we came to you to ask if you were willing to do it. And these funds, by the way, are funds that have already been allocated to the state. They were originally placed in training, but they had too much money in training, so that's where this would come from, is training money that's been allocated to the states.
And you say rental apartments can be included in this?
They can.
And the owner of the apartment, do they pay anything toward it?
They pay $275.
$275 to get the whole apartment updated to energy efficient?
Yes, and it ranges depending on what that service is. And we can do apartments. We have not done apartments. It's typically a single-family house or a duplex. The state will be taking over doing apartment complexes and handling that because it's kind of a different animal than what most of us are used to, most of the people in the network. But yes, it is. And again, the intent is to bring the cost down for the tenant that's in there because most of the time they're paying the energy cost, not the landlord.
It's a pretty good deal for the apartment owner.
Now, the waiting list that you were talking about, does that have landlords that you know of, that you can think of?
I would have to check. There's probably, I would say it's 5 to 10% of the population. It's small. It's not widely used by landlords. And that I don't know that I've ever had a landlord other than an apartment complex approach me. Typically it's the client, because they were sent to me through DSS or aging or whomever. I don't know that I've ever had a landlord call me just because they wanted their unit done.
In regards to the waiting list, if, you have individuals who are still on the waiting list and can't receive the service, that's just too bad.
We would work through them as best we could with the regular funding, the annual funding that we get. Next year, we only have enough funds for 19 units. They did cut back on the regular funding while the stimulus was going, so I don't know in the next year what the funding level would be. Obviously, there's a lot of variables there. But we have approximately 40 to 45 people on the waiting list that are not in some form of, we have people who are in some form of, it was basically, if you looked at the list now, you'd see 70-some people, but there's actually some people in it that are in some form of progress that show on there until we move them to the complete. But roughly 40 to 45 between those, the 75,000, the additional 75, a little bit that we have left, and then the regular funding, we would think we could basically wipe that list out. And again, looking at the list, there may be some factors that may limit some of those from being done. We tried to kind of estimate those based on the information we had.
Why is it that we're one of the only, there's only 2 counties in the state that can apply?
2 agencies, yes.
Why is that?
You have to meet spending thresholds, monitoring thresholds. From what I've seen, most of them haven't met their spending or unit count thresholds, but we have to meet those and have adequate monitoring
Okay.
to do it.
Any other questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we put this under new business.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Thank you. Right. For everybody to be aware, item 4 was removed. That was an email that was sent out just before our meeting. Going to G5 is reservation of capacity certificate for Brook Point Manor. I'd call on Mrs. Watts, or actually Mrs. Morris.
This is a request for a reservation of capacity certificate for Brook Point Manor. The applicant is Brook Point Manor LLC. It's 66 units on approximately 4.53 acres, and it is located in the city of Concord. The project is expected to generate approximately 19 students overall. If you look at the memo that you have, you'll see that there are no planned improvements over the next 5 years in the table, and also that the middle school is over capacity. The application did state that the project is going to be age restricted. However, no supporting documentation was provided. Staff requests that the Board of Commissioners consider option 1, which is exempting the project from the APF ordinance. That would be contingent upon the county attorney receiving 2 documents that typically go along with something that is exempt. The first is a document that states that they will certify to the county each year that no students live in the complex. And the second is that it is deed restricted to the 55 and older. Should the project not develop as an age-restricted community, then it would revert to option 2. And staff requests that this be placed on the consent agenda. And I don't know if Mr. Cook has anything to add to what the requirements are to show that they're exempt.
Mr. Cook?
I think that pretty well sums it up. We have done this in the past for a couple of projects that were reputed to be age restricted, and we required them to have covenants and restrictions that run with the land to ensure that the property is only used in that way. And as Ms. Morris said, we always require an annual affidavit from the whoever is actually managing that project, that there are no school-aged children living in any of the units in the project.
Any questions for Ms. Morris or Mr. Cook?
Just to, for a reminder, under option 1, they can, because it would be restricted to the age, they can build all the units at their schedule.
That's correct.
And it's only if they don't provide the proper documentation then it would fall to option 2, which would limit them on their building so that each year they could build so many units.
That's correct.
Or they could build them, but they can't rent them until those time periods. And that's how we phase it in, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I make a motion to place this on the consent agenda with the stipulation of option 1. And then if the paperwork is not submitted in a timely fashion, it would revert to option 2.
We have a motion to place this on the consent agenda. What the motion would be is to approve the ordinance, or approve the agreement as presented under option 1, provided the documentation is given in a timely manner. Otherwise, it will revert to option 2. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next is appeal of rezoning case. Ms. Morse.
This is an appeal of a rezoning case that was considered by the Planning and Zoning Board. The request is for approximately 138 acres to be rezoned from limited commercial and CR, which is our countryside residential district, to limited commercial and HDR, which is high-density residential, and accommodates some other uses, so it's almost a mixed-use district. The CR district typically accommodates 1 unit per 2 acres. HDR allows 6 units per acre or up to 8 units if a density bonus is granted if it's a mixed-use project. As you can see by the staff report, we did have several comments that were received on this particular rezoning. It is located off of Highway 2427. If you know where the Midland Fire Station is, or where the Meisenheimer's Industrial Park is, it's located in that general area. Staff also, at the public hearing, there was some opposition to the case. The Planning and Zoning Board did vote 9-0 to deny the request. Therefore, the applicant is exercising their right to appeal. The Board of Commissioners would need to hold a de novo hearing and consider this application anew. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
One thing, this is the Mr. Bergner in my office is.
That's correct.
Or at one of my partners. So I would need to recuse myself from the hearing. So I need everybody be aware of that. Should I recuse myself right now, Mr. Cook, or what's the best, as it relates to placing this on our new business, or it has to be on our new business if it's going to be a hearing?
That's correct. So I don't think that potential conflict would matter in this circumstance, just to place it on the agenda, because they have the right to have it heard, and it would have to be a new business item.
Well, as it relates to the discussion, I will not participate in any discussion today, nor on the 19th, so. But I will be voting on whether to go on new business or not.
I move we place this under new business.
Motion is second. Do you want to, and call for a public hearing?
Call for public hearing with that, yes.
Okay.
Whatever needed.
We have a motion to place this on new business and call for a public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Under G7 is Emergency Management Countywide Fire Study Selection. I would call on Mr. Langer.
Good afternoon.
Good
I believe
afternoon.
the last time I was before you on this issue was in June, and at that meeting, the board had requested that we solicit requests for qualifications from companies to conduct a fire study and then bring back before the board a recommendation on a selected company. So that's what we're here for today. We received 6 responses on the RFQs, and at that point, we assembled a committee made up of several fire chiefs throughout the county. We then narrowed it down to 3 companies to do oral interviews with. We did that on August 18th, and at that conclusion of those interviews, the committee unanimously selected Public Safety Solutions Incorporated to conduct the study. So that's who we're recommending, and asked if you have any questions.
Now, this
and
is
hopefully move
the,
forward.
we had a lot of discussion in regards to the fire study during our budget. This is what we're talking about, is moving forward with this fire study?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Langer?
How was the members of the selection committee selected for that?
Well, really, we called some of the chiefs and asked if they were willing to participate in the study or the selection process, and several said that they would, and we also felt that that we needed to have a municipal representative to represent the municipal departments. So we got one of the municipal departments to participate, and as our Firemen's Association president, who represents all the fire departments, we felt it was important that he was there, and that's kind of how we selected the committee.
The study is going to not only deal with the county fire departments, but also talk to the city to making certain that we're working in conjunction, or this is in conjunction with the city departments?
Yeah, really the purpose of including the city was county fire protection is affected by the city, as the city, through mutual aid agreements, responds into the county, assisting the departments. And, felt that it was important to at least get information and feedback from the cities on how, they're affected by county fire protection.
Right, but all I'm saying is that going forward, they're going to include the cities in this study.
No,
They're
they
not.
will not actually study their service and
They
how
won't
it's
talk to
being
them at all?
provided. They will sit down and meet with them and just discuss.
So that's what I mean. They're going to be able to talk to them and say,
Yes.
guys, what's y'all's strengths, weaknesses to match up with our volunteer fire departments as well?
Yeah, they just won't go in depth as going out and evaluating their equipment, replacement of their equipment, and things that they will for the volunteer departments.
No, I wanted to make certain that they will be involved in understanding so that we're not duplicating where we don't need to duplicate, but we don't get stretched thin either.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, just a comment, though. I can tell you that, again, being the unofficial historian of the board, back 10 years ago, we did a similar study. I'm not sure if we went outside and did that or not at the time. We did it internally. And I guess I just would encourage our board, we'll take, I won't use the exact word, but it will take some intestinal fortitude, I guess, to when they come back with recommendations, maybe some, some decisions, difficult decisions to make, but to do that, because I know there's always been like a hot potato politically to deal with fire issues. And I know that when the report came back 10 years ago, we listened to it, we heard it, and didn't follow through on, I don't think, on hardly any of it. And I just don't want to, I want to make sure, because I think we should do it, but I don't want to make sure we don't just waste the money by having the study done, and then we just listen, get the report and then put it on the shelf and not take any further action. So I think we got to be prepared to, let the public understand too that why we're doing this is not to take away somebody's control over a fire department or anything. It's to increase and improve the public safety in our community, make sure that we're getting the best, the most for the most efficient use of our resources that we provide to our fire departments.
I think it's also keeping in contact with each one of the departments, letting them know where we stand and what we're trying to accomplish. You're right, we're trying to look to improve, because we already got a good thing going. We just got to figure out how to make it better and more efficient.
Well, I think we've got some very professional firefighters in our community, and among our volunteer fire departments, some very dedicated people, and them to understand that this is not pointing fingers at any of them. This is to say we've changed a lot in, I guess, the 40 or 50 years since we've formed a lot of the fire departments. It's time for us to take a real good long look at where we're at and what we're wanting to do going forward. So,
do we want to place this on the consent agenda or new business?
I move we put it on the consent agenda.
We have a motion, we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. G8 is the General Services Trucks and SUV Bid Award. Mr. Billifer.
On July 18th, we put an invitation to bid out on the county internet. And on August 4th, we received those bids for the purchasing of 2 general service vehicles, 2 pickup trucks for the Parks Department and an SUV for emergency management. We're looking for a motion to approve the bid award so our county purchasing agent can issue the respective purchase orders to those 2 different vendors, which were Hillbush Ford and Parkway Ford.
Any questions for Mr. Billafer?
Are these replacing aged trucks, or are these just an addition?
No, none of these are additional vehicles. They're replacing all of them.
And this is part of the budget that we had approved.
Correct, and for this part of the package, these trucks with everything that we do on it, tags, everything, it looks like we'll be about $14,000 under budget.
Good.
Good, yeah, great.
Any other questions? We have a motion to place this under consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Billafer.
Thank you.
Under G9 is ITS approval and a request to change the name of Christenberry Road to Edenberry Drive in public hearing.
Good afternoon. I'm Lee Snuggs, Cabarrus County's 911 address coordinator. We're requesting a road name change of what is currently Christenberry Road that runs from Cox Mill and used to connect to Derrida. There's been a lot of confusion with our first responders and dispatchers because just to the west is Christenberry Parkway. And so we are coordinating with the City of Concord. They have jurisdiction on the east side. We have jurisdiction on the west. And we're requesting this to be changed to Edenberry. And actually, Concord picked the name, so Edenberry Drive. So it would be changed from Christenberry to Edenberry.
Do the people that live on Christenberry Road want it changed?
This is actually an opportune time because there's no one, there used to be a few houses out there and no one's there now. All the houses, they've been torn down or removed.
Okay, so it
it's
doesn't
just vacant
affect
land.
anybody's street address, I mean, in regards to mail?
Correct.
Okay.
There's no businesses on that road either?
There's no ma'am, there's not.
There's nothing that
There's
that
nothing,
currently has an
on-
address?
On the east side is vacant, on the west side is both vacant. The west side is owned by North Carolina Natural Gas, and I think the county side is subject to be developed, but it's both vacant.
I would just ask that you contact the landowners and let them know that this is going to be on for public hearing. They would know what, and if they would prefer something other than Edenberry, where that came from, I don't know, but if they want to come up with something different, then we can certainly take that under consideration.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, any other questions?
Do you know when the City of Concord will be approving their side of the road?
I'm pretty sure I heard from Kevin Ashley that they've already taken it before their board and has been approved.
Okay, so they've already approved it at this name. They would have to do.
We don't know if the landowners have been told.
No. No, we don't want to put 2 names on opposite sides
That's
of the
right,
road.
one lane could be Edenberry, the other one could be.
Paint a red stripe down the middle of it.
But if you don't mind just contacting the landowners, let them know what's going on so that they don't come out there and say, I thought I owned it.
And we do have signs up for the public hearing and everything, so I have had a few people call and ask questions, so it's well identified.
Thank you, sir.
I'd
Any
make
other-
a motion to place it under new business and call for a public hearing.
We have a motion and a second to place this under new business and call for a public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Under G10 is the Regional Emergency Radio System. That has been removed, I believe. Next is G11 is Tax Administration, presentation of the schedule of values for 2012. And call for a public hearing. Mr. Wiesner.
Hello.
Hello. It's been tough getting through those schedule of values.
Yes, it is. Exciting reading. Well, so far, it's been out there for a month. We've had one phone call about it, and that's typically what we get. People don't usually get too excited until they get the notice of it.
About to say, once they receive the notice, then that's when we get the phone calls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a letter to the editor. Was that the phone call?
No.
Yeah, there is a letter, there was a letter to the editor.
Yeah,
in
I did see the letter.
I didn't know if you had that.
The letter itself, of course, didn't get the full impact of what the schedule of values actually does. And so, and I have a little information I can give you on that. We are 60% complete with our residential appraisal of our neighborhoods. And of those neighborhoods that we have completed, the value has decreased by 15.75%. So that's a little better than it was last time. It was 18% the last time we reported it. And we're continuing to obviously work on that, working on commercial industrial. Don't have a lot of commercial industrial final numbers yet, so can't give you a report on that yet. And I'll go ahead and pass.
While he's passing that out, I did want to make certain that the board realized that when we had our budget discussions, one of the things we looked at was the revaluation at doing 13% decrease, so that the next year's budget right now is based upon a 13% decrease for everybody to know.
Yes, and again, the residential areas that we have worked are pretty well dispersed throughout the county, so that's probably a pretty good indication of what the final numbers will look like. Again, we haven't gotten far enough into the commercial industrial, and you can see on our list there that we're a little behind schedule as far as the way we laid the schedule out on commercial industrial. But like I said last time, we've taken a little different approach, and we're spending a lot more time studying the lease information that we have and trying to take an income look at that property. So by the time we get back in October and give you a report in October, we would expect that commercial industrial number to look a lot better and start to get a feel on what we're doing in that aspect of the revaluation. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Any questions, Mr. Wiesner, at this time? Under the very top, develop and adopt schedule of values, schedule open for inspection, what does that mean? It's the second to the bottom of that section?
That just means it's available for the public to inspect
Okay.
it.
And it's 25% complete?
Well, it'll be open for 4 months, basically.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make certain.
And if somebody would like to come and look at it, would they call you to make an appointment to come by, or can they come by most days? How do you work that?
Well, they can just walk in. We actually have a paper copy of it available for people that don't like to use computers, and it's available to anyone when they walk in the office. If they want to have discussions about it, it'd be better to call Chris Ferris and set up an appointment with him.
And there's also, I believe the last time you said it was posted on the website, so it also has access on the website.
Yes.
But if somebody wanted to come in, they would come in and go to your office?
Yes.
And they could sit down and look at it, and then if they had questions, they could make an appointment with you or somebody on your staff
Right.
where they could sit down and talk about it. If they
Right.
were interested in their specific property, at this point, can they talk about their specific property, or is this?
Well, we can talk about it. We can't give them a final number yet. We can just talk about it. Okay. And
Could you tell them that their neighborhood is one that you had looked at, or you wouldn't be that specific?
Well, I don't think we would get that specific yet, because even though we have looked at 60% of the neighborhoods, we will do a final look at those prior to setting the final values. And we typically do that in December and January. And if anything happens in the market between now and then that might indicate we might change a particular neighborhood, we wouldn't want to give out too much information too soon.
Right, so at this point, if they wanted to look at it, it's more to understand the process and the thinking behind how the numbers will be arrived at.
Right.
Any other questions? We have a motion to place this under new business and call for a public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion and we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have is G12 is a proclamation acknowledging September as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. Several of the municipalities have already passed this, recognizing September as Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and this was asked to be placed on our agenda to consider it. And if this board is comfortable with voting on it today, we can suspend the rules and vote on this today if everybody is willing to acknowledge it today as opposed to this 19th.
I move that we suspend the rules and approve the resolution.
We have a motion to suspend the rules, and we have a second. We have to suspend the rules and approve the proclamation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And then the resolution joining the National Moment of Remembrance of the 10th anniversary of September 11th.
I move that we suspend the rules and approve the resolution.
We have a motion to suspend the rules and adopt the resolution as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, quick question, and this is since we were talking about two proclamations, those noticed back up on our consent agenda, even though we already approved it. Well, one proclamation, or two areas, yeah. There's one for the DECA week, and the other one for Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day. I didn't know whether we wanted to move those to the recognitions.
The DECA one's fine because that's not until October. So that's
Okay.
why it's
I didn't
on
know
there.
whether we wanted
They're
to-
both October ones.
So we could do them as,
So we could do them on the regular schedule.
yeah, so just put them in the recognitions portion of the meeting. That way we could be publicized.
We have a motion to place the proclamations under the recognition in October.
October, if we approve
If
them.
it's approved.
Yeah, yeah. So-
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second to place these two, if approved, in September onto our recognition in October.
Is that what you mean? We want to approve them in 2 weeks?
Well, whatever,
And
we
then
can
also
approve them, but
recognize them
discuss them,
again in
yeah.
October
But
during
just-
the.
But just make a public, it'll be on the consent agenda, which means it won't be anything said about it. And what I would like.
He wants something said about it in
Something to say
October.
about it in October so that we can
Okay.
publicize it. That's what that
We have a
was the
motion,
intent.
we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I believe that takes care of the agenda. Is that correct, Mrs. Honeycutt? Everything but the closed session.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Do we have any reports from this board about the different boards that we're serving on?
I've had one request from some people in Midland, want to know when the library's gonna be open back up on Fridays.
I got an email, and I responded back to that young lady about there was a request asking us to use one-time monies for the reoccurring expense. And I also told them Midland had approached us about this time last year about wanting to open up a branch, and the board's policy has been that if a community is wanting to open up a branch, that they would provide the structure, and then we would provide the staff as well as the contents, the books and all that. And I haven't heard anything since then when it was requested, and that was said if they want to do that, they need to move forward and tell us where they would like to have it located so that we can have some input in regards to what the structure is going to look like, and inside how it's going to be able to do it. So that right now we're waiting on, if Midland, the town of Midland wants to do that, we're waiting on Midland to provide us with that information, but we haven't gotten any further information.
And maybe I can provide a little information to new commissioners. The library previously had been open on Fridays, but as a cost-cutting measure during the recession, I eliminated all the part-time help in the libraries. As a result, there were some hours, or there were a reduction of hours was necessary, and that's why that is the case. So anytime the board chooses to appropriate some additional money and hire people back, then that can be changed.
Okay, anything else?
Just, I noticed under the reports that we're going to be receiving a report from Aaron on the food system. Is that going to be something that's going to be presented to us or at the meeting?
That was just put for your information at this point. I hope you'll take an opportunity to take a look at it. On the October agenda, there will be folks from the Food Policy Council to make a report on some
Oh,
other
okay,
things as well.
okay, that's it, okay, got it. Thanks.
Anything else? Do we have a motion to go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege and/or threaten or pending litigation? We have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. After that, we will close or adjourn for our business day. Thank you.